Okay. So what brought you into the black activism?
Okay. What brought me into activism was an incident that happened a couple of years ago where I was in an altercation with the police. And this altercation, you know, turned into what we know as police brutality. You know, it started off as a unlawful stop, unlawful approach. Ultimately, led to unlawful detention after police brutality. So um, the thing with me was I used to hear about police brutality all the time, stop and frisk, and you know a lot of these issues. But a lot of times, until you're directly affected by a situation, you really don't know what it's like, or you know the level of detriment, or what somebody really experiences. You know, so sometimes it takes a situation like that in order for you to, in order to raise your awareness about what's really going on. And when I ended up in that situation, my whole thing was, this happens to people every day that have no resources, that have, you know, no kind of reinforcement, no knowledge or understanding of what's going on, or how to deal with it. And you know, for me to be somebody who did have all of that, you know, I said, you know what, this is a perfect opportunity for me to deal with the situation appropriately, and then use this instance in order to teach others how to deal with situations like this, which naturally put me in the realm of an activist. So I kind of got engulfed by dealing with more people, wanting to help more people, wanting to give more information and preparation about issues that affect the black community, such as police brutality, such as stop and frisk, number-driven, you know, policy, and the whole broken windows theory. Like, there's a bunch of, you know, issues that we're dealing with now that stem from police altercations.
And what do you think the black community needs? What do you think that it's missing?
Well, number one, I think we're missing resources. Resources definitely for the youth. You know, I think if the youth were more empowered, if the youth were more occupied, then this, you know, we could start to mend a lot of broken gaps. You know, we could start to mend a lot of bridges, even bridging the gap between the older and younger too. Because as we have gaps across the line, this only creates more gaps within our stronghold in our communities. You know what I'm saying? So if we got better resources, you know, better education, you know, better opportunities, job opportunities, you know, everybody knows, this is common knowledge. Whenever jobs are prevalent, crime goes down dramatically. And people act like they don't know this. This is day one common knowledge. Whenever there's a lack of jobs, crime goes up. It's always going to be that way. So these are things that need to be talked about, these are things that need to be implemented. This is why, one thing I love about the National Action Network is we deal directly with politicians who pass legislation. We deal directly with politicians who are able to help with increasing jobs, you know, and for a politician to get your vote and not fulfill his obligation is like a slap in the face. And the days of politicians not doing their job and not being held accountable are over, okay? And we're talking from city council all the way to the presidency. This is one of the things that we're strong about at the National Action Network. On Monday, we're going to have everybody from the governor all the way to the mayor to city council at the National Action Network. And these are all relationships that we have directly. And we talk about policy. We talk about police brutality. We talk about all these issues with these people that we've elected. And of course, no money for you to talk to somebody who got your vote. And you shouldn't let nobody tell you that either. You know, so these are the steps that we're taking already. This is progress in action. Everybody talking about, oh, we can't do nothing, the problem is too big. Okay, as long as you look at it that way, that's exactly what it's going to be. And that's exactly why a lot of people in the situation they're in is because of the chain of thought. That's another thing we need to do, is change the way people think and process things, you know, especially in the black community. we've been so, you know, psychologically broken down. We've been so programmed, brainwashed in so many different ways that we don't even understand the power that we have. Okay? When somebody else comes from a whole nother country to New York City and becomes famous or becomes successful, and you've been here all your damn life, and you know what I'm saying? That lets you know that there's something that can happen. You just have to initiate and take, you know, you gotta take control. You know, I think we should look for more solutions than looking at the problems. Everybody knows what the problem is. Even a kid can tell you what the problem is, but can he tell you about a solution? You know, I do a lot of panel discussions, and one of the things I like to do is reinforce the accountability factor. You know, and when I enter the panel, I say, listen, let's come to the panel with solutions. You can talk all day about speculation or this or that, but we're here to talk about solutions. So that's why I always try to keep a progressive conversation when we're talking about issues dealing with the Black community.
What was your reaction when you first met Reverend Al Sharpton?
When I met Reverend Al Sharpton,
Mm-hmm.
let me see, I met him years ago. But you gotta understand this. I didn't, you know, when I met him the first time, before I knew who he was, all I knew was what they said about him, which he was a scam artist, you know, loudmouth, ambulance chaser, troublemaker. You know, that's all the stuff that propaganda that they put out about him. And there's a lot of people who still think that, you know. So I had to really get to understand more about the work he's done, more about, you know, his organization, more about him, in order to really say, wow, this guy is nothing like that. You know, he's nothing like what they said he was. So initially, you know, I'm not going to say that I believed everything they said about him, because that's one thing that got me to want to know who he was, because I'm like, he can't be that bad, you know. So plus, when I started seeing what this organization was about, I said, damn, if he's as bad as they say he is, how's he's so progressive with his organization and making progress on these levels, because he's such a bad guy. That's when you start to realize, wow, you know, the media can paint a picture of somebody, and you know, everybody's not as enlightened as me to even, you know, go as far as to find out who this guy really was. There's a lot of people that like, yo man, you mess with that crook, man. I'm like, no, he's not a crook. You just don't know him. You just believe what people told you about him. You know, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Everybody. Until you prove me otherwise, I'm going to show you the same level of respect that you deserve. And I've even dealt with people who other people dealt with. And they said, yo man, that cat, did he ever pay you? I'm like, yeah, I had no problems with him. I don't know what y'all did, what y'all talked about, but we had a very good understanding, and there was no kind of, you know, situation.
What does Harlem represent for you?
Harlem represents, for me, the foundation for every African American community in the United States of America. Every black community owes Harlem something. I'm not saying they owe them anything. When I say that, Harlem really broke ground. You know, we had the Black Wall Street out there, but the Harlem Renaissance and Harlem was the first place where blacks were able to really own businesses and thrive on a professional level, you know, and be taken serious. I'm a history buff, you know, and even though there was segregation going on for the last 100 years and back, there were times like in the 40s and the 60s and the 70s, man, that were good, you know, great opportunities, good music and stuff like that, man, you know. And I just wish I could